of the Nigerian Television Authority. The 2018 edition of the Zuma Film Festival is here, and we have guests with us in the studios to talk more about this. First, we'd like to welcome the Managing Director and Chief Executive of the Nigerian Film Corporation, Dr. Chidi Amadweke. Dr. Amadweke, pleasure to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
We also have with us in the studios Chike Nwafia. He's a consultant to the Zuma Film Festival, and substantively, he's Executive Director of Silicon Valley African Film Festival, and is based in California. We've had him on Good Morning Nigeria in the past.
Yes.
Chike, pleasure to have you again in Nigeria and on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
Okay. Rhoda, let's begin with the CEO of the Nigerian Film Corporation. Zuma Film Festival has been rolling now. What is on offer for 2018?
Quite a whole lot, because like the team says, it's based on creativity and archiving for creativity. And it's all government trying to walk their talk, because government thinks that they should create jobs, they should create the enabling environment, particularly for the young, talented Nigerians, which, of course, the creative economy, second to agriculture in terms of pulling interest of the Nigerian youth into the creative economy. So we are hosting once again, we are hosting the film festival in order to further that agenda.
All right, Mr. Chike Nwafia, this is the 9th edition of the Zuma Film Festival. Yes. Do you think it's achieving its purpose?
Well, I mean, I must say that, you know, like as was introduced, I also run a film festival in California. And when the Vice President visited Silicon Valley not too long ago, a lot of us in the diaspora have been in Silicon Valley for 30 years. And I was really moved by that gesture of the Vice President, and Dr. Chidi was one of the delegates that came, and we had a substantive conversation. And it was time for those of us that have been outside of the shores to start coming back. Whatever we've learned over there, we need to bring it home. And so I thought Zuma was just a very perfect, you know, coming together. And to answer your question directly, this year's theme on archiving struck a chord with me, because here is Zuma Film Festival in the city of Abuja, trying to turn Abuja into a destination, you know, place. And I've been doing this outside of the shores. And archiving is so important, because you need to hold on to the stories of the past to understand the present and chart your path to the future. And I told him, sign me up, whatever I can do to support this. And the team on the ground and what I've seen, the discipline and the planning, they are hitting, as we say back there, they're hitting it outside the ballpark.
All right. Thank you very much, Chike. Let's bring in again Dr. Amadweke. What level of participation are you expecting for this year's festival? And what is the duration of the festival, by the way?
It's for 7 days. Last year it was just it was for 3 days, which was the first following my assumption of duty as the CEO of Nigerian Film Corporation. But this time it's going to be for 7 days. And we're attracting a global audience to Abuja, as it were. We are hosting a 3-day archival summit, which is sponsored by the German government through the German embassy, and out of which certain policies in archiving will be made manifest. It might interest you to know that, again, the German government has partnered with us to set up the first of its kind master degree program at the Institute, National Film Institute in Jos. So that's part of the reason why we are having the theme, you know, archiving for creativity. Of course, we also have the Spanish government. As a matter of fact, the former Vice President of Spain was supposed to be here, but is now the advisory chairperson of the Council of Governors in Spain. He's sending a representative to participate in Women in Films Forum. Of course, also we have American Day, which is going to dwell more on Afrofuturism and diaspora. So you can see that, of course, we have our Nigerian who are also going to participate. We have quite a wide network of people. So it's supposed to, and of course, for the first time, we are going to be screening films for 7 days here in Abuja, because it's a festival at Genesis. As everybody can come from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. because we want to up the excitement of making people know that, one, Nigeria is not just the second biggest film producer in the world, but we are comfortable to lead the pack in terms of being a destination for film festival. We are not going to just be attending other people's film festivals like Cannes, like Toronto, and people will not know that Nigeria has a destination where they can attend film festivals too. So that's why government appropriated funds for this year, and we are utilizing it to the best. That's why you find people like Chike, who is here all the way from California, and this is, like he said, a spin-off from the Vice President's visit to California, leading the Creative and Technology Advisory Council on that trip. So we are quite ready, and we're excited, and we're hopeful. And of course...
Chicken,
I'm sorry, Rhoda, just I'd like the CEO to clarify. You're asking people to come to the location for the screening of film festivals. Is it free entry?
It's free, like I said.
So Bobby.
Well, it's part of government trying to stimulate the industry. Because like I said before, government want to walk their talk to say that they believe in the creative economy. So it's part of government trying to create the awareness that this is the way to go, that what is above our shoulder is far more than what is beneath our feet. These days of dwindling resources from oil revenue, we have to be creative. And so government is using Nigerian Film Corporation as an agency of government to create that awareness.
All right, Chike Nwafor, you're a consultant for the Zuma Film Festival this year. What should Nigerian film practitioners and indeed Nigerians at large expect from this year's edition?
Oh gosh, you know, well, just like Dr. Chidia said, Nollywood is it. I mean, we have incredible talent here. And so this festival, just looking at the selections, which I wasn't even part of because there's an independent jury that goes through this, but when I saw the selections of the films, Nollywood films that are going to be in this festival, I've always respected and really been fascinated with the amazing talent. So people will come and just bathe themselves in incredible films produced by their brothers and sisters right here in Nigeria, but also there are, you know, films here and there from Tanzania, South Africa, Ethiopia, and also some films from outside of the African continent. So the beauty of this film festival is over 60% of the films really are from Nigeria. In fact, I would say about 70, 75% even. But while you're watching those, you'll also see some kind of, you know, films that also remind you that there's a world outside Nigeria and kind of enriches your whole experience. And that's really, really what I'm fascinated about this thing.
What ultimately does a film festival achieve?
All right, good and incredible question. And it's a question I can answer in 3 days.
No dissertation.
But a couple of things. You look at the value chain and the audiences of a film festival. A film festival speaks, first of all, to the filmmaker. A film festival speaks to the community. A film festival speaks to all the stakeholders in the film industry. Quickly, to the filmmaker, you come to a film festival either physically or through your film, and then you get to showcase your work to a community of people that are really very interested in films. They get to give you feedback sometimes. If you're there, you have a conversation with them. You never know who is sitting in the audience. They might pick up your film. It might be a short film that you put on and somebody sees it and asks you, when are you doing, what are you doing next? You could strike deals at a film festival. You connect with other filmmakers and you can go on and on. We don't have a lot of time, but yeah, it's really a showcase.
A showcase. And then also for the benefit of our viewers, the theme, as Dr. Maduka said, is something got to do with archiving. Yes. What is archiving in the film industry?
Well, I mean, without being very technical in terms of what it is, but just, you know, because in a layman's term, if you will, the whole idea of archiving for creativity, like we said, is, you know, if you don't keep records of your past, somebody else is going to end up telling the story of your past for you. And we are producing and have always produced incredible work in this country. Now, the challenge has been, intentionally or unintentionally, oftentimes just because of the challenges of where we are, that some of these works that have been produced decades and decades ago are not accessible. So people go overseas to buy footage. So the idea of bringing to focus the importance of archiving, how do you preserve your past? How do you preserve even your present? So as these incredible things we are talking about coming out of Nollywood are created, somebody needs to be talking about how do we make sure that our children, our children's children get to see them.
All right, thank you very much, TK Warfare, consultant of the Zuma Film Festival, and of course, executive director of the Silicon Valley African Film Festival in California. Thank you for joining us this morning. And a very big thank you to the MD and CEO of the Nigeria Film Corporation, Dr. Chidera Madueke. Thank you for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure.
And so if you are in Abuja, it begins tomorrow, the 1st to the 7th. So if you're in Abuja, just as Kingsley indicated earlier, there's a wolf. You can go for free movie screening at the Genesis Plaza here in Abuja from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, it's World AIDS Day tomorrow, and we have some guests in the studio to shed more light on it. We'll be back in just a moment.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service. Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria. In commemoration of this year's World AIDS Day, we ask the question again, do you know your status? Let's listen to the views of some Nigerians before we bring in our guests to discuss the issue.
Well, I don't know, honestly. That's the honest truth. I've never bothered to find out.
All right.
Yeah, I do.
When last did you check?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I can't even remember.
You can't remember?
Yes.
Yeah,
sure.
Okay, when last did you check?
That was last year.
Okay.
Yeah. My HIV status? Yes. Without a test, yes, I do.
Okay. When last did you get?
I've never done one.
Okay. Do you know your own status?
Yes, I know in my status that I'm HIV free.
Okay, when last did you do the test?
I've not taken long, about a month now.
Okay. Thank you so much. Status?
Yes.
When last did you get tested?
About 3 weeks ago.
All right, now joining us to talk on the outlook on World AIDS Day commemoration, just to indicate that it's the 30th anniversary. Joining us in our studio is the Director General NACA, Dr. Sani Ali. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning.
And we also have joining us the Executive Secretary Civil Society for HIV and AIDS in Nigeria, Sisan Walter Ugwocha. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning.
And finally, we have with us Victor Omosheni. He is the National Coordinator of a network of persons living with HIV and AIDS in Nigeria. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, let's begin with the NACA Chief Executive. That's Dr. Sani Aliu. I mean, you listen to the comments of some Nigerians there where asked the question, do you know your status? And I'm sure that if you were to extrapolate from that, you will find that the responses are virtually similar across the country. Is this a source of concern to you?
Well, absolutely. I think there is a need for Nigerians to be aware of the importance of testing for HIV, because it's the only way you can access treatment. If you don't know your status, you'll never be able to access treatment in the first place. And this is a disease that is no longer a death sentence. It's treatable. People are living normal lives by taking the medications. The last time we did a survey, we found only about 23% of Nigerians have ever had a HIV test done. And even in terms of the number of people living with HIV, only about a third are on treatment at the moment. So we still have a lot of work to do. But to me, the most important thing is making access to testing easy, so that people do not have to go very far to access a facility that can provide testing. And as technology moves on as well, we are now having test kits that you can do it yourself, self-test kits, not only from blood but also from saliva. So if you're concerned, for instance, you can take the kit home, try it, and if it's negative, you'll have the strength to go out and go to a facility and to retest again just to make sure you are negative. And it's a bit worrying that we still have people out there who feel that they cannot have HIV just on the basis of their feelings, really, or because they think they haven't put themselves at risk. All you need is a single exposure to pick up the virus. You don't need to be promiscuous in any way.
Yeah, we're talking about, let's talk about access to testing in the first instance. Where is testing available at a recommended facility? That's one. And secondly, we're talking also about the self-testing kit. Where can an individual access a self-testing kit?
So in terms of where people can go and get tests, we have over 1,000 facilities that provide HIV testing. Virtually all our federal medical centers and teaching hospitals are HIV testing centers. A lot of the primary healthcare centers also have access to HIV tests. We do have a call center in NACA, which is, the number is 6222. So even if you don't know where to go for a HIV test, if you call that number, based on your geographic location, they'll be able to tell you the closest place you can go to have a HIV test. In terms of the self-test kits, they're still emerging at the moment. They are not as robust as the test kits that we use in the facilities, and that's why we haven't rolled them out. But I'm pretty sure in the very near future they will be available commercially, because we're trying to push them out into the commercial sector, and they shouldn't really be that expensive to buy.
I was going to say that, because I'm aware that it doesn't come cheap, especially the self-testing kit.
Yes, so the one that we have in NACA, we're just sort of trying it at the moment, and that was what we distributed yesterday at the World AIDS Day. It's not for sale, it's actually free, but we want to make sure that the test kits that are available out there are valid, and they produce results that are valid. At the moment, we do not have that confidence to be able to roll it out in a massive scale.
All right, Dr. Sani Aliu, thank you very much. Let's bring in now Walter Ugwocha, who is Executive Director of the Civil Society for HIV and AIDS in Nigeria. Well, again, on the basis of the push to get people to know their status and to also realize that HIV and AIDS isn't a death sentence any longer, what, from your experience, are the particular challenges with regard to advocacy for HIV and AIDS?
Yeah, just to also contribute to the earlier contributions from the DG, we also have about 4,000 community-based organizations in country who have what we call trained counselors and testers, who also have offices in local government and in the communities, where people in rural settings can also walk in and get tested and be referred to a facility where if they are positive they can also obtain treatment. So in terms of advocacy, we've been in the front line of pushing to asking the government of the country to take ownership of the national response and also ensure that we have adequate resources that we'll use to respond to HIV and AIDS, both at the federal level and at the state level and also at the local government level. We have some issues around challenges in terms of advocacy around the resources itself. Some states actually have made commitment in terms of budgetary allocations to HIV and AIDS, and some states have not made any release so far. So that's becoming a very real-time challenging in terms of how the states respond to HIV and AIDS. And also we had some challenges in terms of advocating for removal of the user fees, and we're sitting down with the Director General of NACA to see how and the Minister for Health to see how we can fashion our ways to ensure that we remove some of these challenges we are facing. But the challenges are still quite enormous, and HIV is still very, very much here with us, and it's important that we make the right direction in terms of joining the global race to end HIV and AIDS in 2030.
In terms of Rhoda, I'm just wondering, still on the advocacy before we go over to Victor Omoshen, when you listen to some persons discuss HIV and AIDS, again also following from some of the comments made in the Vox Pop, one tends to get the impression that some persons say ignorance is bliss. If I don't know my status, then yes, that's fine. I'm comfortable. You said something will kill somebody someday anyway. No. How much of a barrier is this to you getting your messages across on HIV and AIDS?
So there are two forms of it. First form is the younger generation. Most of them, because of the decline in funding for our family health and family life and health education in the secondary schools, most of them now are not even aware about it. So that's one box of the challenge. Then these other box of the challenge are just people's beliefs, and that's what we have been working in communities trying to educate people that it doesn't cost anything to know your status. So even if I have the belief before now that it's better I don't know my status, but it's very important that you know your status so that you know where you stand. It's just like declaring if someone is a male or a female. But whether you're positive or you're not positive, we have life-saving drugs. And also if you are negative, it's important that you continue on the negative path by, just being more careful about some sexual behaviors and some risk factors and eliminating them, and you'll be fine. So it's important that everyone know their status.
And talking about life-saving drugs, I'd like Victor Omoshen to come in, because there's been a challenge, especially with access to antiretroviral drugs. It's a major issue. How are people living with HIV and AIDS actually dealing with this? What are the challenges? I'd like to speak to the issue of the antiretroviral drugs, and is there still that level of discrimination when it comes to people living with this disease?
Well, thank you very much. I just want to say that the country have been able to make some significant progress that we can actually appreciate. Before now, it's been a very difficult task assessing HIV medication. However, at this present time, we've been able to have about 1,100,000 people placed on HIV medication in the country. And that's a huge task, but there's still need for more people to be on treatment. The country has adopted a test and start policy, which means once you're HIV positive, you start your medication almost immediately. So the gap now is for individual Nigerians to play their part, to be able to walk up to a test center and request for a test. So everybody needs to initiate that process, that decision of saying, let me get to know my status. Because, of course, the treatment is available, the treatment is affordable, and the treatment is accessible at all public, in fact, and so many other private sectors, private institutions in the country. So, but, of course, user fee is one of the barriers that is limiting access.
When you say user fees?
User fee, like some unnecessary charges, some charges that is being introduced at some facilities, like chemistry. They ask you to pay for some chemistry before you've been initiated on ARV, or at the same time they ask you to pay some money before you get your drugs. What we are advocating for in the country is that the government of Nigeria and the international partners are already paying for the HIV medication. So there's no point that anybody living with HIV who is to be placed on HIV medication should be forced to pay before accessing the treatment. Okay. Because the drugs has been paid for. So everybody should have access to get this drug. So if we have all of those...
Who are those introducing these charges now? And what is being done to ensure that they no longer, or they do not impose those charges?
Well, I think since 2006, the federal government of Nigeria has declared that HIV treatment and drugs is going to be free. And since 2006, in the country, we've been enjoying free treatment, including for PMTCT, pediatric treatment, and all of that. But of course, because there is a dwindling resources in the country, some donors are not giving the support that they are giving anymore. And some facilities that have been enjoying this level of technical support from those partners are not getting it because our government is not matching the grant with the projection that is expected. They are just shifting this responsibility to the patient to say you need to pay for ABC, like cards, viral load testing, CD4 counts, hematology, and all of those tests.
If you add up those charges, what would the amount be on the average?
It depends. Some facilities, they charge up to 2,000, 5,000 naira. But I will tell you that even if it is 200 naira, to some women in the community, or even young people who are not working, or students, it's a huge challenge.
Okay, Victor, thanks a lot. Dr. Sonny and Leo. Well, the issue of the withdrawal or diminution of donor assistance is one that was feared as a potential hindrance to the effectiveness of the HIV campaign. How much of an impact has this had? That's one leg of my question. The second leg has to do with this. I mean, if the sum total of some of these charges come up to, say, about 2,000 naira or thereabout, without seeking to legitimize what those charges are, I mean, that's the cost of a recharge card. Any person that wants to stay alive ought to be able to afford it. What are your thoughts?
So I think I'll start with the second question, really, the issue of user fees. Our position as government really is that for virtually most things, when it comes to the health sector, people living with HIV should have free treatment, because we have invested a lot in providing antiretrovirals, in providing test kits together with our partners, and also in providing laboratory investigations relevant to the management of HIV infection in those patients. What we do know is that for a lot of these tests, they are actually illegal. They are criminal. They are wrong. Okay. We cannot give you a medication to give a patient, and then meanwhile you are charging prescription charges. It's wrong. And certainly there should be no condition attached to accessing services. So if a patient cannot afford a card, for instance, to register in a facility, that facility should be able to provide that card free of charge so that the patient can access services. That's why we're able to subsidize a large amount of healthcare services in those facilities. If you go to your average teaching hospital and you see a very nice lab or a very good functional clinic, most times they tend to be HIV facilities. We support them, we provide generators, we provide electricity, we provide water, we train their staff. So there are indirect advantages of having a HIV facility. And moving forward, we will be looking at this more in an even more strict manner. For facilities that continue to charge illegal fees, we will give them the option of taking out the HIV facility completely out, because it is not right, it is illegal, and it's affecting the delivery of healthcare services, particularly HIV care.
Donor funds.
Donor funds. So to give credit to our donors, they're actually still investing heavily in the HIV response in the country. The US government alone has spent about $5 billion US, billion, not million, $5 billion US in the last 15 years. Yes, it's true that the amount that has been coming into the country over the last few years has come down from about $600-700 million per year. It's now around 300 to 350. But at the same time, government has also taken up more responsibility. President Buhari only recently directed the Federal Ministry of Finance and Budget to make sure that the people on the federal government program, and we have about 60,000 people in Taraba and Abia, they are accommodated within the budget. In the past, we will be given an envelope, and that envelope is not realistic. But moving on from 2019, we are no longer restricted to an envelope in terms of the number of people going on treatment. So we're making progress. The state governors have been around at least about 12-14 states now. And for a lot of the governors, they have committed to put in 0.5 to 1% of their monthly federal allocation towards HIV. So we're making slow progress, but we need, there is no doubt that we need domestic funding. No donor response is going to be forever. No country will come to you and help you forever. So at some point, we need to start looking after our own people, and government is taking up that responsibility seriously.
All right, let's look at the activities lined up for tomorrow. What activities do you have tomorrow?
So we have been doing a lot of testing in the last 24 hours. Yesterday we were at the Wuse market. Tomorrow we will be at an IDP camp here in Abuja to see those at the IDP camp and also offer HIV testing services, etc. We'll be doing a lot of media activity as well, because advocacy, as you can see, it's really important. People need to know their status. They really need to. It's the only way that you can be able to access services, and you cannot predict whether you have HIV or not. And by the way, if you think you don't have HIV, what's the problem with testing for HIV?
Precisely.
It's not a problem. And if you think you have HIV, it's something that's treatable. If you continue to play ostrich, eventually it will catch up with you, because you will get sick. And when you get sick, and you're very sick, you've run out of time. The likelihood is you will die if you have severe opportunistic infection from HIV.
Dr. Aliyu, well, concerns have been raised in recent times with regard to Nigeria's exploding population. The numbers we have, 198 million. I'm sure that very soon, considering population growth rate of 3.2%, we will overrun 200. Now, what is the prevalence rate of HIV now? Do we know, are the numbers crashing or are the numbers climbing?
So overall and worldwide as well, the numbers are actually coming down in terms of new infections. We estimate here in Nigeria we have about 210,000 new infections every year. It was considerably more than that. This translates to about close to 600 people per day getting HIV. But it was more than 1,000 before. So the numbers are coming down partially because of the number of people on treatment. The more people you have on treatment, the more you will have virologically suppressed, and the less the efficiency of transmission. So in other words, one of the best ways of controlling the epidemic is to have a large number of people on treatment, because they will not spread the virus. And that's why we keep on saying, when it comes to investing in treatment, you're not only providing help to the person with HIV, but it also has a public health impact. So we are doing a HIV survey, which will be finishing, the field work will be finishing end of December. We'll have the results in early March, hopefully. That would give us more precise figures. At the moment, we believe about 3% of the sexually active population would have HIV, which translates to about 3.2 million Nigerians. But overall, the trend is actually positive. It's in the right direction.
All right, thank you very much. That's the Director General of NACA, Dr. Sani Aliyu. Now, let's take tweets, messages via Twitter handle being sent in from our viewers that are watching. This one is from Sani Michael Omokoji. It says, we read in the media that government has stopped giving subsidies for the supply of antiretroviral drugs. How true is this? And if that is true, is that not enough danger for us, as many of these victims cannot afford the drugs? Government should reverse this decision, please.
Dele Jack Solomon, it says principles of confidentiality and informed consent are not, according to him, obstacles to effective prevention and care programs in Nigeria. Rather, it's HIV-related denial, the stigma and discrimination, and the secrecy that results from this that are the major impediments to effective response to HIV and AIDS.
And this one is from Dilly Jack Solomon. It says, Nigeria has the second largest HIV epidemic in the world. What are we doing to curb this social menace as people furthermore unprotected sex accounts for 80% of new HIV infections in the country?
Dr. Aliu, does Nigeria have the second largest HIV epidemic in the world?
Yes, we do.
Second largest.
Yeah, second largest after South Africa. But we believe the survey that will be coming out next year will give us even more precise figures, so we'll know exactly where we are. In terms of the issue of the subsidy, HIV treatment is free. Nobody should be charged for being given a HIV medication in either a public facility or even a private facility. They shouldn't be charged for the medication. Those medications are free. We give them out for free, both our donors as well as
Are there
ourselves.
helplines? Are there, NACA offices where people can actually, if you have such issues, you can go to, or lines that you can call?
Absolutely. So we have a number 6222, which is our call center, 6222. It's open. Yeah, it's open from Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We provide information not only on HIV but also on other communicable diseases, pregnancy issues, etc. And we'll be able to tell you where to go and have a HIV test done. If you're having problems in terms of your treatment, we'll be able to link you up with the right people.
Victor Moshe, let me just ask this question. Years ago, you were hearing about SACA, you hear of NACA, which is the National AIDS Control Agency. You'll be hearing of SACA, that is at the state level. They had all kinds of campaign materials out there, billboards, and so on and so forth. But very rarely these days do you find the SACA, that's being on the front burner with their campaign messages. At the state levels, do members of your association get the kind of support that they need?
Well, thank you very much for that question. I think the center of the issue is, for a long time in the country, we've always been focusing the response to be at the center. But of course, there is a limit to what the federal government of the country can do. The state government also have responsibility to contribute to reducing the epidemic and taking control. Because of course, the residents in the state are residents and indigents of all of these states. And then the state needs to have its fair share in investing in the healthcare. But of course, I would like to quickly talk about the stigma and discrimination issue. Stigma and discrimination is still a problem, it's still a challenge. However, we have Anti-Discrimination Act that have been enacted in November 28, 2014. But we still have a whole lot of employers of labor who still want to do pretesting as a prerequisite for employment. And I think that is wrong. It's a violation of the fundamental human right of any Nigerians who is HIV positive or a potential candidate. Because you are HIV positive or you are qualified to go for unemployment doesn't mean you are less human. It doesn't affect your intelligence. It doesn't affect your capacity to work.
All right. Victor Moshe, National Coordinator, Network of Persons Living with HIV and AIDS in Nigeria. Thank you very much for being with us on the program.
Thank you.
We also would like to thank Walter Ogwocha, Executive Director, Civil Society for HIV and AIDS in Nigeria, Chisholm. Thanks a lot for being around. And our appreciation also to the Director General of NACA, Dr. Sani Aliu. Thanks a lot for being on Good Morning Nigeria again.
Thank you for having me.
And that does it on Good Morning Nigeria for today. And we hope that you have a great weekend. Join us again Monday morning at 7 a.m. I'm Rhoda Anonam. Thank you for watching.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join Rhoda in also thanking you for your company. As she said, we're back on Monday, same time, 7 o'clock. Until then, enjoy your day and have a lovely weekend.